Freeze, and myself, and Bob Geppert and John Grega on the phone, so we have a quorum. First order of business is approval of the minutes for the August 13th, 2015 meeting. I believe everybody, there were several updates that were sent by various people. I think the last set, Diane captured them all. Are there any comments, additions, changes to the minutes for the August 13th, 2015?
The actual correct version is a separate copy on the table.
Yes,
not
the
one-
corrected version is one we have. If you took it off, John and Bob, if you took it off your, the attachment that Diane sent most recently, did not have Nancy's additions, and there was some misnumbering in there, but that's all been corrected.
Okay, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, everybody?
Yeah, I'm all right with my section that I had to do a little revision with. Yeah, I'm fine.
Right, and Bob, I saw all your section revisions got in there too.
Yep,
Yep.
I move.
that we're good.
Okay, Nancy's moving that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Herb seconds.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Aye.
They're all, they're approved. Apropos this, a comment, we have to all make an attempt, and I'm as guilty as everybody else, we have to make an attempt to get our comments into Diane on anything that we do or anything you want published or put out at the meeting. You gotta get them in as early as possible. Sending them in at the last minute, like an hour before the meeting, really causes chaos. So I would ask everybody, all of us, generally, we see stuff far enough in advance. We ought to get our comments to Diane, and anything we want published, as soon as possible, so she doesn't end up with this last minute, push. Okay, it's on. Bob, you asked to be put on here early. I gather you must have something going, so.
No, absolutely, I didn't have a thing, it's just that, I just thought they could push to be nominated judgment.
I see, so you could depart and we wouldn't know it.
I have to stay awake far too long when I'm on the back of the.
Yes, right, okay. Okay, well, you're up next, and actually it worked out well because Chris, we can't get to Chris for a few minutes anyway.
Okay, well, this is probably going to be the briefest response report I've ever given, because everything is on track and moving forward.
Good.
The aeration is taking place. We're doing the electrical hookups, the corings, and the borings, and we are moving right along with that. The next step, of course, would be the actual electrical lines being installed, and the air lines that they are moving also. And then the last step will be the installation of the compressors and the aerators. So we're making good progress. We've had a few little glitches, but they're handling them very well.
Did we get over our problem with the city of Fort Myers?
Yes, we are over that one.
Okay, good.
And we now have all of our meters, a path to go forward that we'll be paying for everything. We've been working with FP&L to get all those set up, so we have a bunch of accounts set up, so it's all, taking its own time, but it's all moving forward at a good pace.
Good.
We have not received any type of an invoice yet, although we know, what it's gonna be, the 419. But at WCI, I'm happy to say, is cooperating very well. We were originally plotting to have everything in the residential areas, and 2 of the ponds, it turns out, will be better served by coming off of the RV line. And we're getting good compliance with them. And so, again, never goes according to plan entirely, but we're not far off of what we thought we'd be doing. We've had a couple of residents that have been concerned about the height of the electrical, they call the banjo box, which is the electrical service box, because it can be as high as 48 inches. We try to get it in the 36-inch range, but it's not all possible. So we have told them that we will be installing shrubbery around whatever is reasonable around any resident that's objecting to the appearance. So we do have money set aside for that.
This is John Grega. Somebody in Portofino, are all the residents aware of those boxes that are going in? I mean, they have been told with.
John, the short answer is, I have no clue. The reality is, we brought it to the president's meeting, and we continue to bring it to the president's meeting. We have contacted the individual HOA presidents or board members, whoever will respond to our inquiries, and we have called and taken it up with every condo board association, not condo, every HOA association. So short of knocking on everybody's door, the communications are out there. Now, having said that, I've been disappointed in the Trieste neighborhood that the people we talked to wasn't the president, but he was the person for the president, but then he left and the president came back and never conveyed it. So then the resident was hit cold with it, and the resident didn't know anything about it, although everybody else knew. So the message is we can't communicate enough, no matter how much we do.
Bob, in that regard, I probably had a similar question to what John was talking about, just from Portofino, but there hasn't been a meeting, a general meeting for a while with a ponds update. Are you planning one for the fall when everybody's back?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We usually do it in a November and February timeframe, if we do two of them. So we will do the same thing this year.
It gets hard explaining, and I imagine you and your group have a similar thing. If somebody catches you, explaining exactly what and why all of is going on.
Absolutely. And we got three initiatives going on simultaneously. I mean, the only thing the residents are seeing at the moment is the various components of aeration. But very, very shortly, we're going to be doing the bank restoration, just as fast as the I's get dotted and the T's get crossed. And then we are planning in November to start the washouts. So yeah, we've got a lot going on that we needed to communicate well with all of our residents. Maybe a November timeframe would be good to do it, early November, and whoever's here is here. That'll mainly be the full-time residents. But then we'll do it again in February. But I'll set that up.
This is John Greg again. I know the one area in Portofino is on an easement, that's bordering Hank's property. And we tried to send an email to Hank advising him of that. It got sent back. Has he been?
He's in North Carolina.
Yeah, he and Joanna are in North Carolina.
Hey, John, if you send it to me, I can get it to him.
Well, we sent it by mail now to North Carolina.
Okay.
So, I hope he gets it. You just don't want him to come back and all of a sudden see something. As long as he's aware of what's going on.
I'm going to see him late next week. If you can get me whatever the information is, I'll make sure he gets it.
All right, well, get the exact information from Bob as to what it entails. All we told him is that it's an aerator electrical box compressor. Is that what it is, Bob?
Well, I don't know because I can't see the address. But we are doing, first is an electrical hookup, which requires a banjo box coming out of whatever electrical source is available. And then there's the conduit that's going to run from there to the compressor. If the compressor is in the front of a dwelling, it'll be right there. If it's pond side, it'll be in the back of the house by the pond. And every one are specific and unique. It's not a one size fits all. So if you tell me the pond number, I'm not sure of this individual's address.
He's on the cul-de-sac of Bella Vista.
It's probably either 10507 or 10505. I'm 11 and working back that way.
On 28.
He's right on the cul-de-sac.
And it's the pond between Portofino and
Bellagio, right?
Bellagio.
The 28?
Okay. I'll figure it out. Is Lou there in the audience too?
No, Lou is not here today.
It'll be number 21,
Oh
Bob.
my goodness,
But,
that's the first.
yeah, it is. Scott tells us it's pond 21.
Okay, pond 21, that's all I need.
Yeah.
All right, I will look it up and then, and what do you need, John? What specifically do you want me to?
Well, if, with that Ron, that you're
Yeah.
gonna see Hank,
I'm gonna see him next week. I mean, whatever
why don't you
info,
just have him call, Bob to,
Yeah,
ask him
that's
what
easier.
it might be.
whatever, just tell me what you want
You
me.
don't want a resident all of a sudden coming back and seeing something he didn't expect.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
make, whatever
And
the
board,
information is, I
whoever
can
the
make
board
sure.
member is, hasn't been able to get a hold of him for that, location.
Oh, John
The
said,
board is, I guess you're saying it's Portofino neighborhood?
Yeah,
They
well,
have
we
not been able to get a
sent
hold of
the
us.
information to him, but it was just a real brief, that, hey, this is what's going on. If he has any questions, let him contact you. I mean,
That'll be great. That'll be great.
Okay.
Because we can give us another street address where he can go and look and see what's gonna be placed in front of his community, in front of his home.
well, he
See
won't
what
be
somebody
back,
else does.
he won't be back here until mid-October at the earliest.
Okay,
So,
yeah, we can give him the heads up.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
and if you want me to tell him something, just let me know and I will tell him. Cause I will be seeing him next week.
Well, just let him know it's gonna go in, and if he has any questions, to call me.
Okay,
Simple as that, we'll get him all the detail.
alrighty. Let me just, since we've been talking about communication, in my working group, we had a meeting with Sarah yesterday, day before, time flies. And one of the subjects that we talked to her is about communication. So our working group has decided that we're gonna put documents together that we want the community to see, having to do with safety and security, give them to Sarah, and she's gonna send it out to the community. I think,
Okay, is Sarah the new,
Yes,
yes,
Sarah's our new,
Tracy?
yep,
yes, Sarah Mabry.
and she is
Okay,
here.
well, we'll do exactly the same thing.
I was
Okay.
gonna
Because I have
suggest
gotten
that.
feedback from people that, they're not members of the Alliance, so they didn't, we were using the Alliance before,
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
but some people objected to that, so we'll
Well,
do both.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sarah has a more expansive email list than the Alliance
Correct.
does.
okay,
Okay.
that's the way to do it. Further reports, Bob, anything?
No, everything else is on track, we don't have any surprises from
Okay.
the budget or anything else, now it's just simply a question of getting it done. We had some minor flooding in one home, that I'm aware of, in the Carina neighborhood where the drainage wasn't as quick as, the resident would have liked. The area is still under construction, across the street, they're still building and all, so we just kinda have to wade through that with no pun intended, but everything else, we handled the water rather well. We are at historically high levels. We have areas that were flooded on the golf course that have never seen that much water before. So I guess all in all, we have to be pleased that it is flowing through. We can't take it away faster than, the golf can accept it and the slope can accept it, but at least we're not, flooding individual neighborhoods.
Bob, where do we stand with roof drainage in the various neighborhoods? I know, it's.
We are working on that too. The neighborhood that is the furthest along is Trentino Estates.
Yep,
We have a contract in hand from an outfit called, I think it's called All Septic. I believe they want, and I'm going from memory here, so it's either $18,000 or $23,000 to do everything. The ponds portion of that will be significantly less than that, and we've asked them to break it out, but we are going to participate in that effort, and then we'll just roll it out to all of the other communities. We are in the midst of getting a legal reading from Tony relative to whether we can require WCI to mandate downspouts on new neighborhoods that haven't been permitted already. And Tony is of the opinion, at least first blush, is that we can, because it is required to maintain the integrity of the ponds. And if we don't have it, then we get washouts and erosion. So preliminarily, I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to make that happen. It won't help the Cypress Grove people that are there right now. We're going to have to handle that in a different way. I'm not quite sure how.
Bob, how about the pond on Heron 6, which is just full of, it's just absolutely,
Weed, weed,
it's
whatever that
it's
stuff is.
full of weeds and, you could almost walk on it. Is there anything we're gonna,
Okay.
is there anything we're gonna be doing about that?
Isn't that's actually part of the flowway, is it not?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
end of
it
the
is.
flowway before it goes
Before it
under
goes
the tree
under the
line.
tree line.
Yeah,
That's what he's talking about.
you're right.
Oh, the one before the bridge?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Okay, historically, we've not done a thing with that,
okay,
because it doesn't really affect any residents.
oh, okay,
It is unsightly,
it certainly is,
the only ones that ever see it are the golfers,
yep,
and, rather than spend money and do that, that's not to say we couldn't change it.
mhm,
If I've never gotten a complaint about it, I've gotten comments. And again, we fundamentally have focused on residents and not necessarily on, because everything that breaks free up north, ahead of that, all flows to that area.
mhm,
And then it will eventually go out as soon as the water levels drop. Because right now it's floating on top of the water, but, we are above the opening of the drains.
okay,
So it's just gonna sit there. And you're exactly right. I mean, we clogged that thing 100% in the past.
yeah,
But it's no different than we did in every other year.
mhm, okay, and it will flow out, it won't clog the drains?
Oh, yeah, it will eventually flow out,
Okay.
absolutely.
Is that part of the twice-a-year treatment that all the
Well,
lakes get?
everything gets treated twice a year, yes.
Yeah.
But what we haven't done in the past, Nancy, is we haven't requested a mechanical reaper or harvester, simply because it's beyond us, it's going past us. So we haven't fooled with it. Knowing full well when the water level drops, it will eventually flow out. But when we say the twice-a-year treatment, what we're really saying then is that before the water levels rise, and before we have water spilling over the weir, we are trying to kill or contain all of the growing alpha and hydrilla at its root base.
Right,
And although we pump a lot of chemicals in there, this stuff is super. It's like kudzu. You never get rid of it. You just try to control it the best you can.
and because it's in the flowway, is this ours or is it Gateway's?
We do not have a contract
It's
on the flowway. Gateway
Scott
does.
just said Gateway, I think.
Yes,
Was
it is all Gateway.
So that-
Everything to do with the flowway is under a contract with Aquagenics and Gateway.
Could we ask the supervisors, in the Gateway Water Group if they have taken a look at it and if there's anything that they can do about it?
Well, we could. I mean, we've never even mentioned it to Aquagenics. Again, this has never been something that the Ponds Group has been focused on simply because it's
We can ask
viewed as
Scott.
being past us.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly we can ask anybody to do anything.
We'll just ask Scott to take care of that.
I'll look into it.
Well, okay.
He's right here.
When we say take care of it.
I mean,
when we say
at
take
least
care of it,
talk
what are we
to-
really asking?
Go ahead, Nancy.
at least talk to the water group and just see if there's, something more that can be done other than the twice-a-year treatments and waiting for the water to go down.
Okay, I missed the beginning. What are we talking about the growth on the top or below? What are we?
At the end
This
of
is,
the,
Scott, this is the same thing that we did when we had Aquagenics doing it harvest, but it's in a totally different area. This is in an area that no one will ever see it unless you're standing on the bridge of Gateway, standing on the bridge of Tree Line Boulevard,
No.
and happen to be looking back at our
He's got it.
flowway.
or you're
I
on.
guess I'm struggling with why we're concerned.
It just, I brought it up only because I have had comments, because you can see it.
It's an
from the-
eyesore.
It's an eyesore, you can see it from the, from,
Well,
number
I
6,
totally agree with
from
that. No
Heron
resident
6.
can see it, only golfers can see it.
Right,
It's not visible from a resident's home.
right,
Correct.
understood.
Well, nobody's asking our Ponds Group to do anything about it. All we're saying is, it's an issue that's come up, and could the Gateway Ponds Group look at it as just,
Well, historically now, and when I say it's a Gateway issue, because Gateway pays the bill, Gateway lets the contract. But we have an operating relationship with Gateway that anything that happens within the confines of Pelican Reserve comes through our Ponds Group.
but it's
In
not,
other words, we don't want to have another Ponds Group in there. So we handle resident complaints.
right, but this is not ours to cure.
Well, none of them are, Nance, but we still handle them. I mean, when we had all the residents, Karina, upset about the construction created flowway growth pattern this year, know, I went and negotiated, the ponds went and negotiated with WCI to have them pay for moving that out. That really wasn't our issue. That was, again, Gateway. But we do it because we want to keep consistency with our residents, that they come to us for everything. So if you guys are telling me I need to get that done, then I will put people to work on it. But what I would suggest is we're wasting a lot of money and resource and time for something that is not really, I don't know, it's just not that big a deal.
Well,
I mean, does it really affect the golfer to look over there and see that?
Well, yeah, I mean, just as it affects a resident to look out their back door and see something like that.
Well, if you're a resident, your back door, I completely agree with it. A golfer? Oh, look at the fairway.
But Bob,
He
those,
shouldn't be looking there.
Bob, those,
If he hits the ball there, he's got real problems.
that's right. There's some of us, there's some of us who can do it. There's some of us who can do it.
There's a lot of us who have.
Well, there's one other thing that has guided us in the past, is if we told Aquagenics or whoever that they had to go in and harvest it, I don't know how they'd even get the equipment there. It's totally isolated.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right,
I mean, it was just a lot of things that why I've chosen to ignore it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong,
yeah.
but if we told them they had to do it, I wouldn't even begin to know how they could do it, short of getting a crane and hoisting something over Tree Line Bridge. And, I mean, wow. If it was my nickel, I wouldn't want to spend it.
Hey, Bob, my only concern about that whole thing is that, in fact, at some point in time, the flowway becomes clogged there. Does someone inspect that every year to make sure, at least before the rainy season comes, to make sure that that flowway is clear under the tree line?
Well, no, but I believe they're 84-inch openings, so we could probably do that. I mean, they're big pipes. They're dual huge things. And when the water level drops, you can see under it. You know, we generally see under it. But yeah, that's a reasonable. I mean, we could put somebody in a boat to go look. But
Another
it would
comment.
certainly cork the bottle if it didn't work.
You're right. Just had another comment on the aerators. I go over to Corona occasionally, have friends over there, and looking at one of the ponds, it looks like there are 3 aerators installed over there. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, WCI put aerators
Okay.
over there, yes.
Okay.
But and they have the type of compressor. We gave them the information on what we're going to put in, but they didn't follow our specs. They bought the kind of equipment we're buying in terms of the compressor, but their locations are probably a third of what we're going to put in. In other words, they did the absolute minimum, and we're trying to optimize not only the aeration but also any future dredging. So once we take those ponds over, we are going to
Put in some more.
reposition
Okay.
the aerators and upgrade them to the standard that we've applied to the rest of our community.
Are you going to put any more in those ponds?
Oh, absolutely. Not
Yeah.
more compressors, but a lot more diffusers.
Diffusers, okay, right, okay.
Okay. Bob, did you happen to see the questions that I posed in my report on the supervisors meeting, the September 3rd supervisors meeting? I think that got to you.
I think it did too. It does.
Well, let me,
Throw the questions
let
again.
me, yeah, let me, there were really kind of 3 of them. One of them had to do with the question of operating permits as opposed to ownership of the ponds. And at least as I understood the comments that were made at the supervisors meeting, even though we have ownership of the pond, or we don't really have, these operating permits from South Florida Water Management District. Is this?
I can't, I don't think I saw that one.
Have I misinterpreted something there? Are
I
you,
think,
are you?
I think that Scott's gonna have to answer that.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of cases, we don't own the bonds. Our responsibility is the maintenance.
Okay,
And the operating authority, as I understand it, resides with South Florida Water Management. And they have not turned that over to the district yet.
right,
WCI wants that turned over, and WCI tried to get it turned over piecemeal as they turned over the ponds to us for the maintenance, which we accepted, the CDD accepted. but South Florida is saying, no, we're not gonna turn over the full turnover to the entire community. And I may have some of the terms wrong here, but I know that ownership is one issue, that's a separate issue.
Right.
And the maintenance responsibility is the one I'm most familiar with. And then I think the operating authority comes from South Florida, and that still is with South Florida until it's
Yeah.
turned over.
Scott's gonna
Okay,
comment on that.
Yeah, Bob, and
Can you
John, I
hear?
hope you can hear me. The
Can you
contractor.
hear Scott?
Yeah, I can hear him.
The-
Okay.
The contractor pulls out a construction permit through South Florida Water Management. And then after they meet all the requirements, it's reviewed and accepted for turnover to operating and maintenance. That's when it transfers to the district for maintenance operations. That's done after South Florida approves it, after our consultant, engineer, Tetra Tech reviews it and approves it, and then it comes to us for operating and maintenance. And then that has nothing to do with ownership. That's a whole different basket.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused. If we're already maintaining the pond, then you're telling me that this permit allows us to maintain the ponds?
That's my understanding, yes.
And we don't have that, therefore we can't maintain the ponds? I'm confused by what you just said.
Some ponds are still under construction.
Well, the ponds in the older part of Pelican Reserve, where the roads have been turned over, et cetera, are those permits been approved?
No.
Then we can't maintain those ponds? You see
I
what
would-
I'm getting at?
I-
I'm
you know, I-
confused.
I don't want to get the
Yeah.
Okay.
language. Danny addressed all this at the last
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
And we have a long list. We're working through that for all of the 100-something ponds within Gateway and Pelican Reserve.
Yeah, this has been a long standing issue
Yeah.
that, that apparently now is finally seeing some daylight.
Right. We're chipping away at it.
Yeah.
There's some old ponds that are 25 years old here in Gateway that still haven't been transferred per the district guidelines. But we're still maintaining them as water management district, or CDD district. They haven't been transferred according to water management district guidelines.
Whatever that means, I'm not
Yeah.
sure what any of that means.
There's a lot of legal components to this, and the more you dig, the more
We're
confused you become.
working down the list. South.
We know we don't have the ownership, and we know the ponds that we are currently required to maintain.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
different
we're
than the
current
operation.
on what
Why are you
is,
doing that?
what is from construction to operation. We're maintaining that.
Okay.
We're all good with WCI
Okay.
and the water management,
Okay.
okay? It's a mess.
Okay.
And everybody just keep this in mind, it is to our benefit
Eyes were
for us to be maintaining it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just wanna make sure we're not gonna
If
get into some
WCI
legal
was-
problem.
No, we're not.
Again, I would never rock that boat, because if they were, we wouldn't be getting anything done that we wanted to get done.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Bob, Danny also mentioned something, and Scott, maybe you could elucidate on this, that they're having, they need to have a survey done of their ponds. Do we need a survey of any kind?
We are, Scott and I are working on this right now for, well, a couple of things, one of which is, getting our elevation standards put in each pond, so we know, what the depths are. We did some when we did the bathymetric readings on some of the older ponds, some surveys were a
Yeah.
part of that.
Right.
It's a good idea to do it, I don't know that it's a requirement, but we found the information very useful, so.
Okay, Scott, you have comments on that?
I do. Our Tetra Tech is in the process for designing the 2 ponds within Pelican Reserve where it's slated to do lake bank restoration. They're working on the engineering. That engineering involves doing actual surveys of the sections of the lake bank. So you have vertical and horizontal control per the survey datum off a benchmark above sea level, et cetera. Where are you in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're working on getting that information done so that we are specific on elevations for the lake bank restoration, how high the material is to be installed above the control elevation and things like that. So it's survey data that they're collecting.
Okay. And who's collecting the survey data?
That is being determined right now.
Okay. I understood somebody had suggested that we could have Johnson Engineering do it.
That is one of the considerations.
Because they owe us services.
That is in the
right?
works.
Okay, okay. All right.
But Johnson Engineering did the original surveys
Yes,
back in the
Yes.
day.
yeah, well, these are new lakes, they've been dug, they've been active for a number of years. Slopes change,
Right.
erosion, so we have to get new data.
No, I understand that part, but Johnson doesn't come to the table without experience,
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh,
having already done
absolutely.
this.
It's not-
Yes, and that's the reason I think it was suggested that
Yeah,
they would be a possible, candidate, and since they owe us services, it would be a good
Right.
thing to use.
yes.
The one last question, Bob, is that there was a discussion of whether the aquagenics contract in Gateway included littoral maintenance. And apparently it does not. And there was a discussion of whether that should be added. Where do we stand with that as far as, our aquagenics?
We have, well, let me think how we had this. We have a separate littoral contract with, CES,
Okay.
Environmental Services, and that's only on one pond, where we're doing some pilots. And that is going into its second year. It costs us $100 a month. The only thing we have done with aquagenics is on a case-by-case basis, when a pond is deemed to need some more littorals to help with bank stabilization, et cetera, we have made an ad hoc pond-by-pond purchase to put those things in.
Mhm.
That's all we have done.
Okay. So we don't feel a need to have a contract with them to cover that?
Just,
Well, it hasn't been enough money to even talk about in
Yeah.
the past. I mean, we're talking less than 1,000 a year, or
Okay.
2,000 a year.
Okay, I'm not trying
So
to,
I'm not opposed to it, but it's just
But
not
what-
something that's really come up.
What the committee needs to understand is that because of the pond working group, we are light years ahead of
I
the
understand.
problem
Yeah.
than Gateway, which is, what, 25
25
plus
years
years
behind the
old?
problem, yeah.
Is just starting
Right.
to address what we started 5, 6, 7 years ago
Yep.
or more.
right, and referring to
And
the,
they've been in some deep discussions about 100% littorals,
Yep, versus
25% littorals,
littorals, yep.
50% littorals. And, we've really kind of avoided that,
Okay,
to be honest with you.
as what Phil had mentioned earlier about, from the board meeting, there was some discussion on whether or not Aquagenics is currently maintaining the littoral plantings in the Gateway area, if you will.